All right, everyone. I know yesterday you started on this worksheet, and I thought just to start you off this morning, I would just work through a couple of these practice problems with you, just in case you might have been confused, and it might be a little difficult to ask me for questions today as I'm teaching. So just real quick to get started, number one is looking for the genotype. And again, the genotype are always the letters, okay? And then it gives us the phenotype. So phenotype are the looks. All right, so the first one says purple flowers are dominant to white flowers, and all this is asking for here is for you to give me the phenotype or the looks of this combination of letters. So capital P is looking for purple. Anytime you have capital lowercase, the capital always wins. It's dominant over the recessive, so this is also going to be purple. And then little is recessive, which would be our white, and all the rest follow that trend. Over here, we're looking at homozygous. Remember, homo means same, hetero means different, and it's asking for you to tell me which one is which. So if we have our same letters, that would be homozygous. A big and a little would be a heterozygous, and even if there's two littles, that would also be a homozygous. I know those are pretty simple, so we're going to move on pretty quickly here. What I would like to do real quick is to go through 3 and 4 with you and just make sure you're on the right track and give you a couple tips when doing some of these Punnett square problems. So the first thing, this top section right here gives us information for both of these questions. And so it reads, in dogs, the gene for fur color has 2 alleles. It has the dominant allele, and that dominant allele codes for gray fur, and the recessive allele codes for black fur, okay? And so that is super important to recognize even as or before you read the problem, figure out what's dominant, what's recessive. And as we go into number 3, it tells us right away, the female dog is heterozygous. And so we know anything that's heterozygous, we're going to have 2 different traits. So we're going to have a capital and a lowercase. And I always like to just write it in above, just because it's easier to go back later. So we have the female dog is heterozygous, and the male dog is homozygous, which is the same recessive. So now we know the male dog's genotype is little f, little f. It says, okay, let's cross them and see what their babies would be, basically. So if I make my Punnett square, typically the male goes on top, the female goes on this side, and then we do the cross. So we would have big F, little f, big F, little f, little, 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 little. And then it's asking, figure out the phenotypes and genotypes for the possible puppies using the square. So our genotypes over here, again, you're going to look for to either basically make a ratio or even a percent, a fraction. You might be asked to do all of those as we progress through this unit. So we have 0, capital F, so I'm just going to write a 0 here. We have 2, little f, which obviously are right there. Or I'm sorry, big F, little f, which is 50%, okay, 1/2, okay, and then we have 2 again, little f, which obviously is 50%, okay. As we're looking on for the phenotype, we need to know what the black fur or gray fur. Remember, the black fur, if we look up in the earlier problem, is recessive. So just as a reminder for myself, I'm going to write little f, and we have 2 of those that would stand for that. And gray fur, our possible options would be capital, capital, and capital lowercase. In this case, we have 2 heterozygous gray fur. And again, you could put that 50% there as that percentages as well. The next problem, a female dog has black fur, and we know the only way they can have black fur, it's a recessive allele. So we know that genotype has to be little f, and the male dog has black fur, little f. And again, it asks us to do the Punnett square. This one really is pretty simple. When they're all dominant genotypes or all recessive genotypes, that makes your Punnett square fairly easy. And so this one's going to be, let's see, 100% or all 4, okay? And then they say they're black fur, they're all lowercase. Again, 4 or 100%. Let's see here. I think that's really about it. Please feel free after we've gone through each of these two problems. If you still feel like you might be struggling, come and ask. And when you're done with this entire paper, I would like you to come and check it. I'll have a key up at my front desk, or you can ask me to look at it and just make sure you're on the right track with that. When you're done with this, if you feel like you're good, then you can go ahead on to the quiz. If you feel like you maybe need a second trial, please pick up one of the genetics practice problems.